we love a good word of the year, and we're really here to unpack the word elevate for Broad River for 2023. So what do you like about the word elevate?
The supply chain leadership team and I had a conversation about it when the word was announced. Everyone loved it. The word action came up a lot.
The word elevate to me connotates upward energy.
It's like a call to action, right? It gives you a direction to set forth, and trying to get together and elevate together.
If you think about the spaceship graphics, looking up and out and leveling up, looking around, what's happening with our counterparts, where can we collaborate, what's our common goal, rather than having our head down, grinding away day in and day out.
It kind of gives us all something to rally around. I think it also gives us, common vernacular, right? We're all using the same language and moving in the same direction.
Yeah.
So I think it really helps coalesce the team.
When we're all thinking along the same plane, which is to elevate, and every decision that we make goes through the filter of, does this elevate my performance? Does this elevate business at Broad River? Does this elevate our community service commitment? Does this elevate everything that we're doing?
Welcome to Stories from the River, a show in which we go behind the scenes at Broad River Retail.
Why is elevate the right word for us for 2023, in your opinion?
Yeah, so I could speak from a supply chain perspective. A lot of the last 3 years has really been survival mode. Just doing anything we can to get our hands on merchandise and getting it to our guests. To the point where we were buying diverted containers from AFI with product we didn't necessarily even need or want or have, but we needed something to stock our warehouses and have something that we could sell and get to our guests. We started to see the light at the end of the tunnel in 2022, and I think by the end of 22, I would say our supply chain's as healthy as it's ever been. AFI's their stock position is better than it was pre-COVID. We've opened 2 distribution centers since the pandemic started. We have 2.5 times the inventory. We are delivering as fast as we ever have. A couple weeks ago, we set a new high watermark for the company with the amount of we delivered within a week from point of sale. And our broken promises are under 3%, 4 weeks running, and that's really been a goal of ours since the time I got here 4 years ago, where we had been averaging 7 to 10%. So to hit that 3% mark and do it consistently has really been an achievement, right? So I think, elevate is the perfect term, right? Because now we've survived, we've kind of plateaued, and now we want to elevate and get to the next level in supply chain.
Yeah, well said. You hit on a lot of themes I want to try to pull the thread on and unpack right now. So you had a major initiative, which we talked about on the last podcast that were you with us, about Project SHIP, sales order health and inventory prioritization, and really getting us out of the backlog that COVID, we had kind of developed throughout COVID. We retired Project SHIP in December. We really came out of Project SHIP, and now it's like you said, okay, well, we plateaued, we did that. We got to keep going. So what's next?
Yeah. So next, I talked about 3% broken promises, right? So what's next? 2%. Speed to customer. We're at 3 weeks speed to customer now on average. So we want to be at 2 weeks. So now we're looking at, okay, how do we get better? How do we get faster? How do we get more efficient? So those are the conversations we're having in 2023.
Yeah, and so you talked about, well, okay, we tripled our number of distribution centers. We nearly tripled our amount of inventory that we had on hand from 3 years ago, and then AFI, our primary partner, is in a great inventory position than they were 3 years ago. So we're in a great position to really operate well and to take care of our guests. So if you need product, if you come in and shop with us, and you mentioned something earlier that we're getting a lot of our product out, and you talked about like 3 weeks, 20 days on average, but that's an average. Some of that's because we've had some of these just a few longer case goods, whatnot, but we're getting a lot of product out within 7 days, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So that 20 days, that includes customer-driven delays, right? So my house is being built, or I have to move my furniture, or what have you. So that's all encompassing. So really want to get that down from 20 days down to 14 days. That would give us about 2 weeks of backlog. We feel like that's a healthy place to be.
Yeah. And getting a big chunk of it within the first 7 days and the next 14 days.
Yeah.
I think right now we're turning about 80% of it within 3 weeks, 80% of our orders. and maybe 60% within the first 2 weeks. So it's pretty remarkable. That helps our guests get their product faster. Our commissioned associates, our memory makers, get paid faster, which they love, and our financials to be pristine, and to do that with limited broken promises. So beyond going to 2% on broken promises or going to 14 days on an average, what are there other new initiatives or programs that you and the team in supply chain are thinking about?
Yeah, so we're currently developing an S&OP process, sales and operations planning, and it's really an interdepartmental collaborative process, right? So in supply chain, we want to know, okay, what are we going to need? What do we want to stock? So I first got into supply chain 10 years ago, and at that time, my boss said, your job is really easy. Just have what we need when we need it, nothing more, nothing less, right? And so that's the idea, right? Because inventory, it costs money. You don't want to hold, more than you need, but you want to have enough in stock to be able to deliver it quickly. And that's what we think the S&OP process can do as we roll that out. So it's getting groups like merchandising and marketing and retail and customer care and getting their feedback on what is coming up. What are we going to be promoting in ads and in commercials? Talking about product life cycle, changes in floor samples. So anything that could really impact demand, we want to know ahead of time, so that way we can stock that and be able to deliver to our guests quicker.
So it sounds like more refined forecasting on demand planning, and then more going into the long tail of like the nooks and crannies of supply chain, like going down into the floor sample aspect and getting much more sophisticated in multiple layers other than just the macro scorecard. In terms of product categories, like let's take, for instance, the sleep category. Are there other initiatives or programs to really try to raise the standard or elevate a certain speed customer with product categories?
Yeah, absolutely. We know how important premium sleep is to our business, to our customers, and to our HFCs. So, I mean, ultimately, what we really want to be down is competing with companies like Mattress Firm, right? The next day delivery on premium sleep, because that's a category we want to focus on, and something where we need to excel.
That's awesome. Or have them take with from the store in some cases.
Which we have in some cases, but yeah.
So Brian, that's elevating professionally. What is your team looking forward to in terms of professional development this year?
Yeah, so we really just want to kind of build on the foundation that we've put down. Our team has grown tremendously in the last couple of years. We are now, I think, 28 memory makers strong. We've got a manager and 4 supervisors. So we're really just looking to continue to grow people, getting them into the next steps in their career, and then our individual contributor memory makers, helping them grow into possible leadership positions if they're interested.
I was on a Wobie debrief masterclass with Marshall Goldsmith. Was the Wobie masterclass, and I was on a debrief with Alex Lowe, and I think Danielle Lasser was in that yesterday. So everyone's continuing to learn and to grow their education and grow their leadership development amongst your leadership team and amongst yourself as well. We went to World Business Forum last year. I'm sure you're looking forward to going again this year. And
Absolutely.
So anything else, Brian, for the word elevate in 2023 that we can look forward to?
Well, I don't want to spoil all the surprises, Charlie. No, I think we just, we just kind of continue where we're going. And like I said, just building on the foundation we set in 2022, continuing to help our people grow and develop, and myself as well. And just do everything we can to have a successful 2023.
Well, it was an awesome 2022. We were so proud and honored to win the Chairman's Award. And but sometimes the biggest impediment to tomorrow's success is today's success. And so we can't rest on our laurels. There's always room for improvement. We need to have joy and satisfaction in what we achieved and recognize and celebrate that. And then we got to kind of look forward and keep progressing forward. I have no doubt that supply chain will continue to do that and will continue to elevate. Can't wait to see where you guys take it in 2023. So keep up the great work. Thanks for coming and joining us again on the podcast today.
Thanks for having me, Charlie.
But how do you elevate in merchandising? I know you just had a big meeting with all the marketing specialists and maybe there's some gold there, some nuggets there, but how do you elevate in merchandising in 2023?
Our main focus is making strategic decisions rather than reactionary decisions. I think now that the supply chain is much, much healthier, we are not at the mercy of only what's available. We can make strong decisions so that we arm our retail team with a wonderfully balanced good, better, best assortment. We have the pricing right. We have the pricing compelling, and making sure that they have everything they need in their arsenal to win. Additionally, how can we engage our third-party partners? And yes, you referenced the market specialists. We had a marathon day yesterday with those partners, returning to something that we had done prior to the pandemic. We reviewed last year's business briefly. We reviewed year-to-date performance briefly. And then we dug into, where do we have store opportunities? Where do we have collection opportunities? And then how do we collaborate on sharing information? Like, we had some asks of them, they had asks of us. And then Heather Greenwood and I partnered on a wonderful new standardized process to take the subjectivity out of some of their visits, to make sure that we're fully engaged and they're fully engaged, and that everyone is elevating in 2023.
I really love what you're talking about there, because you said we went back to what worked really well for us pre-pandemic, going back to some of those velocity walks and store visits, but we're going to do it better. We're going to take all the learnings we've had in the last 3 years, and we're going to run it through the filter of how do we make that better and elevate it this year. And I'm sure that'll serve our retail teams better. They'll serve our operations teams better. I'm sure that'll serve our financial results better.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The one thing we're most excited about in 2023 is elevating our product assortment. There is so much new product coming in. It's beautiful. It's trend right. It's priced better than it ever has been before. Our stores are just looking beautiful with the new product.
Yeah, I love this phrase, Ashley's legendary values. And that's what they've been known for, just bringing tremendous value and quality to the home furnishing space. It's part of why we're so successful. We've got great products and great assortments. Stationary leather, I think, is going to be making a big comeback later this year with some big introductions. And I think you're also planning another sleep summit and going to elevate our sleep.
Absolutely. Sleep is a major focus for all of us at Broad River Retail in 2023. So our industry-wide famous Sleep Summit is going to happen in May, and we're gathering all the information and the details and putting some super exciting plans together to bring all of our retail folks together, our vendor partners together. We can focus on sleep, get them excited. We have lots of new introductions to train them on and get them excited about, and we have some really exciting things in store.
Well, last year's 3-day summit, which culminated with guest speaker Dr. V, who we also had on the podcast, was industry famous and really well known and well received. I can't wait to see how you level up or take that to the next level this year.
Oh, just wait.
Okay, Lynn, elevate myopically within merchandising, within your department on your team. What are you doing to elevate within the merchandising department with your memory makers?
Number one, we're looking for stellar merchandising talent. We currently have an opening, so we're looking to fill that with someone with some great experience. Leadership development with the category managers. That's super important. I think as we continue with the hybrid work model, staying connected, and that's super important to us, but we are coming back more and more in person, just like yesterday. It was the synergy of yesterday was really productive. Elevating our communication across the organization. Sometimes with this little small team, people don't know what's happening in merchandising. And so we want to make sure that we are arming everyone with the information so we don't keep anything a best kept secret. And then improving and standardizing processes, which creates margin for us to have strategic thinking sessions and be super focused on things that will really impact the business.
I love all of that. Talk to me about helping. You mentioned Heather Greenwood and partnering with her, and just the thought about learning and development and maybe this concept of product knowledge enhancement and product training. What are we going to do to arm our retail performance memory makers with more and better product knowledge from a merchandising perspective?
We will share product details, new introductions, timing of new introductions now that we have stuff flowing and it's a lot more reliable. we're requiring our market specialists to be out in the stores monthly and to catch all of our new hires, to emphasize the important details of all the new introductions. And so just being in the forefront of passing along information.
Love that. So doubling down on maintaining with new introductions across the org, and then doubling down on making sure that our new hires get consistent product knowledge and going into the product knowledge. That's tremendous ways to elevate. Okay, we love to lead by example as leaders, and so we have to go first. So as you think about elevate personally, what are you doing to elevate personally in 2023?
I may have talked about this before because it's something I struggle with, and that's setting boundaries and sticking to them.
My personal goals and professional goals kind of intertwine a little bit. So we're reading Soundtracks by John Acuff right now. It's a supply chain leadership group. And so what it talks about, it's how to solve for the overthinking, right? And I'm a classic overthinker.
Because I'm a helper and I want to solve all the problems and I want to be a part of the solution and not part of the problem. But sometimes I need to ask this question, which I know I referred to Dr. Nicholas Pierce in episode 34, and that is this mine to do?
I've been accused of being pessimistic. I would say I'm pragmatic. But, again, just trying to change my mindset, being more positive. Hit home for me is, my kids. I kind of hear those tendencies start coming out in their communication, like, looking at the negatives instead of looking at the positives. And I know I'm setting that example. So I wanted to change, the example that I'm setting for their benefit, right? Helping them see the positive in things instead of focusing on the negative. That's really what I'm focusing on 2023.
And as I have a teenage son, and the older he gets, the more I feel like it's important to model those kinds of behaviors so that he understands and doesn't have some of the same personality flaws I do.
Well, I think that is a perfect answer, Lynn, to make sure that we set proper boundaries and have that great balance and making sure that you're leading at home and leading with your family and modeling that to your team as well. Because you're going to get your work done, we don't want anyone to burn out at work. We want people to have healthy relationships at work and outside of work. And that's how we can all elevate. That's how we can use our time wisely. And Lynn, it's been a joy to have you back on the podcast.
Thanks for having me, Charlie. I loved it.
Thanks for listening to Stories from the River. To check out more episodes, visit storiesfromtheriver.com. Join us again next week, and remember to like, rate, and subscribe to the podcast.